Breed, you left your towards New Ireland. I think it's important that they do. In a party full of history makers, it's great to have our latest history maker introduce me. Can we just have another round of applause for Lillian Barr? I just realised when I was sitting down there, the last time I addressed a party conference in this hotel was actually the Ulster Unionist conference. A lot has happened since then. And to be fair, when the story broke about me stepping down, first person to actually ring me was Mike Nesbitt, and I had to inform him, unlike Oasis, we're not getting the band back. The conference on this day, the 5th of October 1968, a group of ordinary citizens in Derry decided to stand up. They'd had enough. 50 years trapped in a state that didn't want them and ruled by a government that wasn't afraid to show it. As those few hundred women and men set off along Duke Street, inspired by the civil rights heroes in America and protesting students in Paris, they were met with the violent end of a corrupt, sectarian Stormont regime that had ruled this place for 50 years. What became the Civil Rights Association was made up of many strands of political opinion, but the only cogent political force to emerge from it was this party. The marching feet of ordinary people was able to achieve massive success. In only a few short months, almost all of their original demands were met. Peaceful, democratic action moved a mountain. But you can't march forever. And in fact, that route was closed down by the brutality of the British government on Bloody Sunday. And conference, there's been much said about the choice facing people at that moment. The point is, there was always a choice. When brought to the brink of civil war, the founding generation of this party chose civil rights. They chose peaceful means and democratic struggle, and they stuck at it. In the face of provocation, demonization, and decades of despair, they never took their eyes off the end goal, a new Ireland. A new nation built on the principle that we share this island with our neighbours, and they belong here every bit as much as we do. Because of them, because of their struggle, we now, all these years later, have the freedom to build that new Ireland. Because when faced with violence and intransigence, they chose the hard road. As John might have said, they spilled their sweat while others were spilling blood. I joined this party as a teenager because I could see for the first time in our history we had the freedom to build the country we believed in. The jackboot of violence had been lifted from our necks. That generation of our party gave my generation permission to imagine a new future. Yes, of course, I was inspired by John, Seamus, Breeds, and all the others, but I was most excited by the what's next of it all. It's easy to join a political party. It's much harder to stay, believe me. But the reason I did was because I was inspired by the example of the ordinary men and women of this party. People who lived in communities in despair, but who refused to yield to the simplicity of violence. People who resisted the base urge to repay tragedy with tragedy. People who understood that the cause was never reliving the battles of the past, but building something new together. People like John Tierney, standing his ground every day against the men and women of violence, whether they wore uniforms or not. Winning elections time after time, representing communities abandoned by the state and branded by the media, helping thousands of people through John Hume's constituency office. Living out the lofty ideals of social democracy on the streets, day in, day out, year in, year out. When Hume and Mallon had to be in other places, raising the case and carrying the flame for our politics. Others whose names aren't yet in the history books had to continue standing up when the cameras had gone. I see that same spirit in this party today. No better example of it is embedded in the constant, consistent work of people like Paul Doherty, Lillian Barr, Pete Byrne, and so many others. So when I'm speaking to young activists today, I tell them, never mind the West Wing, be like Tierney, rooted in your community, solid in your purpose, and determined to be never knocked off course by any political winds. Politics is hard. It takes its toll. The abuse, threats, the intimidation targeted at elected representatives, party activists, and anyone who expresses an opinion is unrelenting. But it is, all of it, designed to demotivate decent people trying to make a difference. Take a look around this room. Look at the people sitting next to you. They have shown what public service looks like. They have shown that the boundaries of our ambitions can and should be limitless. Ordinary men and women who have done extraordinary things. The thing about this business, though, that I have come to realize is there are many ways to serve. It's time now for me to serve in a different capacity. 9 years and 10 elections is enough for any leader, and it would have been so much more difficult without the support of all of you, particularly without the support of all my staff, past and present. And as every politician knows, you don't enter political life on your own. Your family comes with you, and I will always, always be indebted to mine for being there with me through all of the ups and downs. But I am so excited and inspired by our new leader. I've known Claire Hanna for decades, and as you might know, we haven't always agreed. But the few disagreements we have had have been about tactics, not purpose. I have never met anyone who believes more in reconciling our communities, and I, for one, am proud to have her as my leader. So the last few weeks have been a bit weird for me. I've had to spend an awful lot of time explaining to people that I'm not retiring. In fact, listening to some of the vox pops on the radio the morning after my announcement, I had to check my pulse just to make sure I hadn't actually died. I'm sure there are a few people who wish I was retiring, maybe even a few in here. There are definitely plenty on Twitter who'd be quite happy if I was dead. But as Tony Benn said when he stepped down from Parliament, and I'm not doing that either, I now have more time for politics, and I'll have even more time for dairy. I know there's been some criticism of me for being too dairy focused. Well, let me tell you, you ain't seen nothing yet. The city I represent, and that has been so important to the politics of this party, has enormous potential to be an economic centre on our island, a focal point for new investment, jobs and opportunities for countless communities. That's why I secured a commitment, an investment to increase student numbers to at least 10,000 by the end of this decade. That's why this party secured the City Deal investment when others were actively opposing it in the executive. And the events of the last few weeks have been proof positive of our core belief that sending an MP to Westminster matters. Because I have used the mandate given to me by the people of Derry to fight for both those commitments again. Fighting to build a better future for everyone is what this party does best. And conference, I intend to be relentlessly focused on building the case for a new united Ireland. I am still as driven as I was as a cheeky, balchy 14-year-old by the what's next of it all. And I'll tell you why. After the Good Friday Agreement, my generation was promised more. We were promised more than smiling pictures of our First Ministers while our parents feel forgotten on waiting lists. We were promised more than politicians congratulating themselves just for turning up to work while we drop off our kids at airports knowing they might never return. We were promised more than mediocre wages and crumbling public services. We were promised more than peace walls and paramilitary still calling the shots. We were promised more than more suicides since 1998 than people killed during the Troubles. When we talk about a new Ireland, those are the issues that drive us. So don't tell me this is as good as it gets. Don't tell me we can't talk about the future of our country while they haven't fixed their economy. Don't tell me we can't imagine a different future while public services are crumbling. Don't tell me we can't even talk about a new Ireland until the peace walls come down. The new Ireland we're going to build is about tearing down those walls. It's about reimagining public services. It's about keeping our young people here and giving them decent jobs. It's about this generation demanding better. And the answers won't lie in more Stormont. We've tried that. We've waited for change, and we won't wait any more. We will always, as a party, defend and seek to improve the institutions of the Good Friday Agreement. But we refuse to be trapped in or by them. I am more excited about politics now than at any time in the last 26 years. This is the decade of opportunity for those of us who want to see this country finally united and reconciled. For a whole generation, old labels of identity are giving way to exciting new possibilities. That's a space where we can win. That's a space where we can build a new future together. A future that answers the big questions a new generation is asking. Are you really satisfied with your lot here? Do you want to be back at the heart of Europe? Do you want to be able to build a family and a life for yourself with a good job in an open, modern, liberal society? Do you want to build a country that looks after the marginalised and the dispossessed? Do you want to be part of a new nation that wages war on poverty and need rather than deepening the divisions between people? Do you want to be proud of your country's place in the world and its approach to big international challenges? If the answer to any of those questions is yes, then what are you going to do about it? This is a space where we belong. Forget the old battles over the past. We are fighting for the future. People will inevitably ask, can the SDLP really play a significant role in developing a new Ireland in its diminished electoral state? Look, we're under no illusions. It'll take many people, parties and activists to get us there. But ask yourself these important questions. Which political party can speak to the middle ground? Who has the history, heritage, and the credibility to convince the undecideds? We can do it because we've always been about building a shared home for everyone on this island. I want to end with a message to the young people of this party. If you want to be part of something big, if you want to play your part in reimagining this country, if you want to unite our communities and build something new, then look beyond the narrow limits put on this place by Stormont. Look for an inspiration in the ordinary women and men of this party. Take heart from the generation who did it in much harder times against much bigger odds. Be leaders in your own communities. Stand with them and stand up for them when it's difficult. Lift your gaze from the narrowness of everyday politics in this place that has failed. Work every day for a new Ireland. Not a new flag on a different building. Our vision is deeper and more substantial than that. A country that truly cherishes all its citizens equally. The shared home place Seamus wrote about. Conference 9 years ago, when you put your trust in me to lead this movement, I said that this is the most successful political party in Irish history. That's no nostalgic epitaph. It is a call to action, a call to return to our radical roots and to remember that we are at our best when we're fighting to win the future. It is a call to fight today and tomorrow, not just for ourselves, but in the substantial common interests of our neighbours and everyone who has made their home here. Friends, the work goes on, the cause endures, and I will be with you every step of the way. Thank you.